So The Cat o' Nine Tails is Dario Argento's second film after The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which I already reviewed on the channel. Once again, I am going to say that I am not a Giallo expert. I'm just a film lover, and Giallo happens to be a very important subgenre of the horror realm kind of thing. So, I really like these two films. I did end up reviewing The Editor, which is also on my channel, and Il Gatto a Nove Code is Dario Argento's second film, second masterpiece. Although he won't consider it his masterpiece, it's actually one of the worst films he's made, in his opinion. And a lot of critics, it's funny, every time they try to stick up for the film and how great it is, which I would say it's a very, very well done film. My preference is definitely on The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, but I really did enjoy this film for what it was, and it's got definitely a very big Giallo element to it. Now, Dario Argento will swear that it's too American for him, and that's the reason why he doesn't like it, because after the success of Bird with the Crystal Plumage and how much influence it had on the globe, he kind of decided to bring in some like film noir elements from North America and a lot of like Hitchcockian elements into the filmmaking, into the cinematography, and there's sprinkles of it, but I don't really see it as some astronomical like push away from a European film. It's a pure Italian giallo. I watched it in Italian with English subtitles like I do any European film and any giallo, although this one is certainly filmed in English. You could tell just from the way they're like all the characters are speaking, and a lot of the characters are actually American or English speaking for the most part. But I really liked it, and I'm here to talk about it, and it's coming out in 4K, which is another reason why I'm reviewing these two bad boys. Arrow Video is putting them out on 4K, and yeah, it's a really great film. So, basically this one starts off with this guy. His name is Franco Anno. Franco Anno, I'm pretty sure his name is. I just wrote down Franco because that's what I kept calling him throughout the film. So, Franco has a niece whose name is Lori. Sorry, I was going to say Gigi. Franco has a niece named Lori, and at the beginning of the film, they're walking down the streets. Franco's blind, by the way. And they're walking down the street, and Lori notices a car, and Franco hears this car, and this car is just parked with this man inside. So Franco pretends to be tying his shoe and asks Lori who's inside the vehicle, and she just says it's this man. And there's another man like standing at the end of the street, so he just keeps on walking along with Lori. And then there's this break-in into this University of Biology, and this guy breaks into this University of Biology and steals something and kills a security guard, which the next day everybody's investigating, and you're introduced to this journalist named Carlo Giordani. Carlo Giordani is a journalist. He's your main character, and he's the guy who you're following basically throughout the film. So at this university, basically, nobody really realizes that anything is missing, but you're introduced to a few characters, including Dr. Calabrese, who basically knows what's going on, and he's kind of trying to blackmail somebody, because he is the only one who's aware of who broke in and what they took. So he forms a meeting with this person, which they ending up meeting at a train station. And at this train station, Calabrese ends up being killed. He's pushed in front of the train. It's this brutal, like, train smack like you've never seen, like right on his face, and it's slow motion too, so you get like the tongue and the blood and everything, and then you see him like rolling underneath the train wheels. It's pretty brutal. I also like how in all giallos you you get the point of view from the killer, and everything is done like point of view style. Basically, it's really cool. So when this accident happened, there was paparazzi that obviously took a photo of it, and it's put in the paper. And Laurie brings a newspaper home to Franco and describes what the newspaper looks like because Franco's blind. And Franco gets an idea that, this actually was a murder because it was in the newspaper it was being shown as an accident, but he kind of puts two and two together, being that he's an ex-journalist himself. So he goes to talk to Giordani at the newspaper print or whatnot, and they investigate the photo further, and they do realize that it is in fact a murder. So the two of them take it upon themselves to go investigate this. Now, Dr. Calabrese had a fiance. Her name is Anna. I'm sorry. Dr. Calabrese had a fiance whose name is Bianca, and the professor at the university had a daughter whose name is Anna. So the professor at the university, Terzi is his name, Terzi, all these weird names, has a daughter named Anna, and Calabrese has a fiance named Bianca. And they both, Giordani goes to investigate Anna, and Franco goes to investigate Bianca. And, things go down, there's red herrings all over the place, there's witnesses, and, things go all over the place. Anna and Giordani end up having kind of like a love affair. There's a really great car scene that's literally straight out of James Bond, where Anna and Giordani are in a car. They're flying down the streets of Italy, actually right behind me, and it's really cool. It's really well shot. It really looks like it's straight out of a Bond film. It's really, really well done. There's a love scene too between Giordani and Anna, where he brings over milk and then it turns out that the milk has been poisoned because he goes out for a smoke or whatnot, and then the killer comes in and poisons the milk. But then they, make love and whatnot, and then he pours a glass of milk for both of them, because even when I was watching the commentary, it's hilarious because the commentators are like, who drinks milk after sex? And I'm like, right? I wrote that down in my notes. That's exactly what I was saying. Which actually the commentary is really, really good. It's one of my favorite things about this. I really like when film critics do commentaries on films like this, because they get so much into detail with the characters and the actors and actresses and everything else they've been in. Where are they? By Alan Jones and Kim Newman. So they do the commentary on it, and yeah, they mention who drinks milk after sex, and I'm like, yeah, exactly what I was thinking. But it's funny, and then the milk was poisoned, and then he realizes it, so he smacks the glass out of her hand, and gets a threatening phone call saying the killer's watching them and all that. And yeah, so eventually Giordani ends up meeting with this guy named Gigi, because they plan on breaking into the professor's home to get a little bit more information. And when they break into the professor's home, they break into a safe, and then they find the professor's journals, and you learn that his daughter Anna is actually adopted, so she's not biological. And in his journals, he basically writes that he was waiting for her to turn 18 because he was in love with her, and when she turned 18, they began an affair after that. So Anna was romantically involved with her, adopted father, I guess, while having an affair with Giordani, and this is what he figures out. Lo and behold, an Italian giallo film. That's how they go. There's a really, really phenomenal graveyard scene, which is one of my favorites in the film. I love graveyard scenes in the first place, but the way this one was done was really, really well shot. So I really like that. That's when Bianca ends up dying, I forgot to say. She's strangled to death in pure Giallo fashion. And she had this necklace around her neck, which she at one point ended up putting a clue inside. Like, she basically she went to the train station where her husband died, and she went to his car, and he had a note saying who he was going to meet up with. So she ended up putting this note in her locket to keep it safe when she was going to tell the police, but before she got to the police, she was murdered, of course, in her apartment. So, what's his name? Franco has a hunch about this and decides that he wants to go to the graveyard to her tomb to dig up her body and find this necklace and see if he can find a clue that way. So they do, but regardless, this graveyard scene is really well done, and it's the cinematography is very Italian Gothic style, which I really like. He also he carries around this cane, like walking stick, because to see and everything. The walking stick has a knife out of it, and I find that really cool. He ends up jabbing the killer in the graveyard in a confrontation and whatnot. And this is where Giordani ends up going back to Anna to confront her of what he discovered in these journals. I'm kind of going all over the place with this film. Every time I get an idea pop in my head, I'm like, oh, this happens or this happens. So I apologize if I go back and forth a little bit. But yeah, he goes to confront Anna about what he discovered, that she's, fucking her non-biological dad. And he suspects her too of possibly being the killer, because when he gets to her, she has like blood on her hand, and he figures that maybe Franco, she was at the graveyard and Franco stabbed her, which in Giallo style, usually Giallo killers end up being women. In the last one, the killer was a woman, and in a lot of Dario Argento films, the killer ends up being women usually. But nope, in this one it's a man. Spoiler alert, this is a spoiler review. You kind of know at the beginning with the dude in the car, so, and it's a man that broke into the university. But yeah, basically the whole thing that started this is the guy that broke into the university. In this University of Biology, basically they're trying to find, they're studying XY chromosomes, and apparently in 1971 it was believed that a person born with an XYY chromosome, so somebody with an extra Y, was more prone to commit crimes and be a criminal, basically. So they're studying that, and who ends up being the killer, whose name is Cassoni. Cassoni was a scientist at this biology university, and he discovered that he had the XYY chromosome in himself, but he was a scientist and he didn't want anybody to know, so he decided to break into the university and switch files so that, his DNA or whatnot, or so that nobody would figure out that he has the XYY chromosome. Otherwise he would be, booted out of there, and or experimented on or not trusted and whatnot. But Calabrese, the guy that ended up being pushed in front of the train, was the only person who knew the truth, that he actually has that this Cassoni guy, Cassoni, actually has the XYY chromosome, and was kind of blackmailing him and stuff, and that's why he was killed. And then, like I said, the rest of the movie is kind of like a cat and mouse thing, with Cassoni being like a slasher killer, hunting down whoever is after him, like all Giallos go pretty much. And Giordani and Franco end up being, ending up in that situation kind of thing. And then at the end of the film, you have this huge rooftop chase. Laurie is kidnapped, and the little niece, Franco's little niece, who's such a cute little girl too. A new Italian actress. She did other things afterwards, and there's actually a commentary with the actress that played Laurie. I forget her name, but yeah, she was a child actress, like I said, but really good. regardless, she's kidnapped by Kasani, and she she's like tied up on this rooftop when they're when Giordani is chasing down Kasani, and then there's a confrontation between Kasani and Giordani, and it lasts for like 5 minutes, and then Franco shows up, and that's when Kasani reveals everything. The whole he has the XYY, and he broke into the university, and excuse me. The funny thing is when Franco asks him or demands where Lori is, and he really wants Lori. Um, Kasani says she's dead. I killed her, and she isn't, because there was no scene that showed her being killed, because during the confrontation she was tied up and she remained tied up. She was never killed. So him saying she's dead didn't make any sense, right? But Franco like freaks out. He's like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" So he grabs Kasani and he like tosses him down an elevator, or yeah, an elevator. Like the elevator is at the bottom, and he throws him from the top down the elevator shaft kind of thing, and he's falling, and he grabs the elevator ropes, and he starts swinging down the elevator ropes, and his hands are like smoking and like almost lighting on fire. It's awesome. It's an awesome scene, and he's like, ah, and he's sliding and sliding. You can like hear it too, like you can hear the metal grinding like on his skin, like because it's all scraping off, right? So it's grinding against his bone and everything. It's so gross. And then he slams down on the ground floor of the elevator shaft. And then the film ends with basically just a shot, looking down the elevator shaft, and the little Lori going, "Cookie, Cookie," which Cookie was the nickname she gave Franco, her uncle. But like cookie, like translated to biscuit kind of thing. But actually, Dario Argento mentioned that adding like cookie, cookie, or screaming, that was kind of like something added in post production, because he noticed that he didn't want the audience to think that Laurie was actually dead, even though they didn't show her dying. He didn't want the film to end in such a grim note. But like I said, the whole thing with them never showing her dying and him saying, "Oh, she's dead," didn't make any sense. Obviously, he's bluffing, but I don't know. It was weird. Clearly, it was a bluff, but still, it worked because Franco, like, it was like a cut end, because you never saw Franco and Lori reunite, kind of thing. You never saw Lori be rescued or anything like that. It just abruptly ended, well, with her yelling "Cookie," but you never knew it was, like, you never knew if that was like him thinking it, or if it was her actually shouting it. But regardless, it's a perfect giallo, in my opinion. I like Bird with the Crystal Plumage better, but that and this make phenomenal double features. Like mint stuff. I love it. The milk sex scene is great. Milk after sex. I like my whiskey after sex, but you know. I mean, what am I talking about? I'm a virgin. Anyway. What else do we got? Oh, there's a barber scene. There's a barber scene that's actually really good. It's Dario Argento mentioned that it's his touch on a black comedy, but he has Giordani on the barber seat, and he's talking about like him being the killer, and he's like, or it's mentioned in the newspaper that the killer might be a barber, and he's like, yeah, I don't know about that, because see, like, barbers are so precise, with their razors, like they just know how to cut everywhere, wherever they want to go. And he's like using the razor on Giordani. He's like, don't you notice that we're all precise? And like how easy it would be for like a barber to just kill somebody, if they just lost it. while he's shaving Giordani, and Giordani's all like nervous, and he's like, yeah, I guess so. And he just keeps going on and on like that, like scaring the shit out of Giordani. There's also these characters that are constantly talking about Italian food, and one of them just raves about his wife's pasta and just keeps on raving and raving. And like every time they're on screen, they're talking about food. I found that funny, especially for like, it's like stereotypical Italians kind of thing. So I appreciated that. I had forgotten the name of the town that they were filming in. It's Turin. Turin, Italy. Apparently, this is one of Dario Argento's favorite cities in Italy, and one that he really wanted to revisit for this film, because he didn't film there. Excuse me, in Bird with Crystal Plumage. He filmed in Rome, but for this one, he decided to go to Turin to film, and it looks beautiful. And that's where that car chase that I was talking about happens. It's through the streets of Turin. And I thought it was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. And as as for stereotypical Dario Argento too, which he touched a lot on his later films, and I really like to watch special features and critics talk about this. Him bringing the drag scene and the gay scene, especially for the time, the like early 70s, into his films and portraying them, it was very apparent, apparently, and according to how he displays them in his films. Like, just the way he. And I don't know how accurate they are or not. I'm really not familiar with it, but he'll always add like trans elements to certain parts of his films. And there's a big like gay bar that one of the suspects is a big like frequenter on, and Giordani goes to investigate. This guy's name is Braun, and Braun is a gay German man who is in this club, and it's, you know, full of people in drag and you know, trans and whatever. And Dario Argento liked to use this a lot in his films. I like for artistic reasons, and like I said, I don't know like how accurate it is, so I can't really touch on it. But it's definitely something that Dario Argento used a lot, and used a lot throughout his career, and even more so as his career went on. But yeah, just thought I'd mention that part. That covers pretty much all my notes. I think I touched everything that I could have. I learned in the special features that in the graveyard scene during filming, a lot of the crew played pranks on each other, which is hilarious to do in a graveyard. But apparently the crew had a lot of, you know, enjoyed working with each other. The guy who plays Franco, whose name I didn't write down, but unfortunately I should have. But the guy who's named Franco is a really, really big actor, American actor, who apparently did a lot of teaching with Marlon Brando, which is actually very interesting. And Dario Argento was very, very happy to have him on set, and said that he was like a big blast to work with and stuff like that. And there's some really great interviews on this set with Argento, obviously, and another one of the co-writers, and Laurie, who played the child actress who played Laurie, and the commentary. The commentary is fantastic, and yeah, you get lobby cards, of course. You get like everything you get in your Arrow releases. You get a poster in there. You get your original artwork, which I like. I think that's really cool, with the cat eyes. And yeah, it's a really sick release. And I don't know if I'll be getting the 4K, as I said in the last review too. I don't have a 4K player, so I don't know if I want to throw the money out for that. But yeah, it's a really, really cool film. If you like giallos, or if you want to get into giallos, definitely check out The Bird with the Crystal Plumage in this one to start. Or you can check out something like Suspiria, or yeah, Suspiria, pretty much. Dario Argento is like the name to look out for giallo. So giallo means yellow, by the way, in Italian. Yeah, it's a cool flick. So check that out. And if you haven't checked out my review for Bird with the Crystal Plumage, it's on here. I reviewed them both. And check out The Editor too. The review I did for The Editor. The Editor is a Canadian film, but it's inspired by giallo films. So, anyways, that's all I got. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my reviews, or if you'd like to listen to my if you like to listen to my reviews, yeah, sure. If you like to listen to my reviews, or if you like to listen to my voice, I'll be back with plenty more reviews, and stay tuned for those. Till next time, take care. Cheers.